What seems like snake oil, but is actually 100% legit? Story 1. Vinegar and newspaper to clean windows. I thought the ink would come off and make an even bigger mess. Almost turns the window invisible. White vinegar is also great for removing stains from fabric. You can pour a little vinegar into the washing machine. Vinegar also eats rust. Here I was fretting over nasty old car parts. The body is usually aluminum and the jets are brass, but screws, springs, brackets, etc. are steel, and a soak in half vinegar and half tap water ate it all away. Next up is the gas tank, but I'm gonna try electrolysis first. Vinegar truly is the magic ingredient for everything. Story 2. Sitting on your deck in summer, or are you having a nice picnic when suddenly you're being accosted by the hellspawn known as wasps? Get rid of them with this one easy solution. Burn some coffee. Burn coffee? I hear you say incredulously. Yes, burn coffee. Take a little saucer, pour a little pyramid of ground coffee on it, and use a lighter to light the top. It will smolder slowly and give off a smoke that smells, well, like burnt coffee. It will also instantly get rid of any wasps that are bothering you. No idea why, they absolutely hate the smell. Some people also dislike the smell of burning coffee. I understand this, but ask yourself this important question while the smell is annoying you. What do you dislike more, wasps or the smell of burning coffee? I know what I would pick. For wasps, I personally like having a little spray bottle with water and some dish soap in it. Spraying hornets/wasps coats them with the soap and it suffocates them. It is the safest way I know to kill a wasp and not risk getting stung, because they also cannot fly once hit by the spray. I've heard of people throwing whole buckets of water and dish soap on big nests to kill them, but at that point, I just use some wasp spray. I hear mint works great too. Either plant some mint on your back deck or patio, or spray some peppermint oil around the area and wasps and hornets will be gone. I have yet to try this, but I looked it up this weekend as we have some new bald hornet friends that I would like to kindly evict without retaliation. Anything to get rid of wasps. Story 3. Taking magnesium. It really can cure some joint, nerve, muscle, heart, and breathing problems. Of course, the only ones it can cure are ones that are caused by a magnesium deficiency, which a surprising number of people have. Some life events that can rapidly use up magnesium in the body are pregnancy, surgery, viral illness, and major periods of stress. For years, I suffered from charley horses, severe muscle spasms and cramps in my feet. It was year-round and so excruciating that I'd be up all night sobbing in pain or even needing help from family or friends to help get my muscles to release. Sometimes I'd be at my retail job and my toes and feet would cramp so badly I couldn't walk. Talked to my doctor and said that bananas and other standard remedies and suggestions were not working, and were told it was probably just genetic and I'd have to deal with it. After a lot of internet sleuthing, I learned that magnesium supplements could prevent muscle cramping. Now I take a 500 mg magnesium glycinate supplement and haven't had a spasm like those in years. Still get one here and there, but nothing compared to what they used to be. Came here to say this. I take mine before bed. It's transformed my sleep. My sleep tracker said my sleep quality has increased by about 20 points since I started taking it regularly. Originally, I was averaging like 55 out of 100. Now it's 75 out of 100 and I feel better. I'm also losing weight, which wasn't part of the reason I started taking it, but I think I snack less with better sleep. Sometimes I have to remind myself to eat during the day. I think it's crazy that something this simple could have this much of an impact on my life. Sounds like a super supplement. Story 4. The whole hold your breath to get rid of hiccups trick. The thing is, most people just don't know the proper way to do it or why it works. It's got nothing to do with simply holding your breath. It's got to do with using your lungs to hold down the diaphragm and stop it from spasming. You breathe in until you cannot fit literally anything else into your lungs. When your chest is as full as humanly possible, then you hold it, and within about 15 seconds the hiccups are gone. For me, I just focus all my energy on trying to feel my diaphragm muscle spasming while breathing incredibly slowly. I envision it twitching, and then I focus on relaxing it and being still. In about 3 very slow breaths, I feel almost an urge to hiccup, and once I feel that urge, but no hiccup happens, I know it's gone. The trick that always works is actually the opposite. Hiccups are caused by a spasm of the diaphragm. To treat spasms of muscles, you need to relax the muscle. Now think about how your chest works. Your lungs have no muscles in them, so to breathe, your diaphragm needs needs to contract, manually expanding them to create a low-pressure system to draw air into your body. So breathing in as deep as you can is actually flexing your diaphragm as hard as you can. So to relax it, breathe out all the way and hold that. It will be painful, but it will work. Don't make yourself pass out. The trick that always worked for me was to take 8 gulps of water in one breath. I guess it does the same thing. Story 5. Yoga. I have severe upper back pain and went through months of physical therapy. I couldn't keep up with the millions of appointments and started doing yoga as a way to stretch my upper back instead. I was doing it for 30 minutes each day and forgot that I had pain. It's so annoying that it does what people say it does, because this whole time I thought they were just being annoying, but they're 100% right. There's an app called Down Dog Yoga. It's a blue dog as the logo. That's the app I really enjoy. You can customize time and focus areas so you can fit things in when you have the time. I too have a bad upper back. I'm working on doing 30 days of yoga right now. It's worked before. The last time I was free of pain was 4 years ago, but then I had a seizure 2 weeks later and refractured it. So I'm hoping it works well enough again that I can work full-time in an office environment. My godfather did yoga every day of his adult life, aged 25 to 90. He enjoyed being active well into his late 80s. I mean really active, as in teaching a yoga class a couple of days a week, volunteering in to go grocery shopping for neighbors, being a pet sitter for several neighbors, as many as 14 at a time, and I needed meds, walking a couple of miles a day. COVID got him, but I have no doubt he would have lived into his 100s. There's a reason yoga never went out of fashion for thousands of years. Story 6. Daylight lamps. Someone mentioned melatonin, so it reminded me of the opposite. LOL. Bought a daylight lamp last winter because I get depressed when it's dark outside for long periods of time. Got one off of Amazon for 40 euros and now I can't live without it in the winter. Thought it was a sham initially. The light basically imitates the wavelengths of light emitted by the sun, bar the UVs, and inhibits the production of melatonin. Not only that, but it also boosts my mood and morale. You just have to be careful because it's difficult to fall asleep for a couple of hours after using it. There's a subset of these types of lights that also work like alarm clocks, wake-up lights. The slightly more expensive ones even fake a sunrise for you, actually slowing increase in brightness from a dull red all the way to that bright white yellow, and then start making noises. Used to be such a heavy sleeper before I got mine, but now I can pretty easily get up even at 4 or 5 in the morning, even in the dead of winter. Could not imagine living without one. A huge quality of life improvement for myself. And I have not managed for a single family member to try it, not even outright borrowing mine for a week or two because they think it sounds dumb and pointless. I always thought that I was naturally an early riser. I'd always wake up early. Even if I was out until 3 or 4 a.m., I'd wake up at like 8:30 or 9 a.m. max. Then I moved to France, where shutters are much more common, and my apartment has big metal roll-down shutters capable of pitch black darkness in the middle of the day. The first weekend I went out, I slept until 1 p.m. I had always grown up with just blinds blocking hardly any light, so I always just naturally woke up with the sun. Now I have to leave the shutters open a little bit, otherwise I cannot wake up for the life of me. I should probably invest in one of those lamps or alarms, especially for winter. I need one of those alarms so bad. Story 7. Breath work. I know, you're like, consciously breathing is stupid, but we unconsciously do it our entire lives and rarely think about it. Our breath changes based on our moods, thoughts, and actions. Have you ever forgotten to breathe when you were lost in thought or worried? When you're angry, do you notice that you probably take shallow breaths in your chest? Our breath is the mind-body connection and can change our moods and minds in just a few minutes. You don't have to go full Wim Hof, but these are great. Psychological sigh, 2-count nasal inhales, long slow mouth exhale. Box breathing, inhale 4 counts, hold 4 counts, exhale 4 counts, hold 4 counts, repeat. Bedtime breath, nasal inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, mouth exhale for 8 counts. It's funny, I was at the library and had a pretty sizable panic attack this weekend. Haven't had one in years. I didn't remember how to do it, but I remember Dr. Huberman talked about breath work, and I inhaled for a few seconds, held my breath, let out slowly, repeated. To my absolute shock, it worked. I'm definitely looking into this and fully on the bandwagon. I like one called The Swing. You just breathe in and out and imagine you are on a big swing. Breathe in when you swing forward and breathe out when you swing back. No counting. It's really simple. Breathing exercises do work. They're great for anxiety. Story 8. Saltwater Swish and gargle for toothache and sore throat, as long as it's not something like strep. Source: currently have strep and ain't nothing working. Otherwise, even the dentist tells me to saltwater swish if I get tooth pain or something stuck. Total relief. I'm a once-a-year strep throat sufferer. For a severe sore throat, my doctor told me to mix a half cup of my Lanta, kept in my fridge, with a tablespoon of Benadryl. Gargle every few hours. The cold Mylanta cools and soothes, the Benadryl reduces inflammation. She said salt water only dries the throat out more and creates more pain. Works wonderfully. This cured my strep years ago. Mince fresh garlic and honey and add cayenne. Mix into a paste and eat it. I don't recall the exact measurements, unfortunately. Take it every 4 to 6 hours or so. I know it sounds awful, but it worked several times for myself and people I've made it for in the past who've had strep. My dad still swears upon gargling more than anything to cure a bad cough. It provides more relief than anything. Story 9. Good posture. I had chronic back pain for years. Then, just a few years ago, I slept on my neck wrong and had neck pain that wouldn't resolve. I saw a physical therapist, and the first thing she did was look at how I sat and how I stood and walked. She told me nicely, but essentially, that my posture was horrible, affected by years of slumping in my seat and also being told continually by my mom, "Suck in that tummy," when I stood or walked, which led to me thinking a pelvic tilt was necessary for good posture. The therapist showed me how to sit and stand with a straight back, my chest up and forward, and my back keeping a healthy lumbar curvature. Let me tell you, it was hard. My shoulder and back muscles were not used to it, and I had to train them like any muscle is trained, with a posture bra and also using a long sheet tied like a strap around my neck, arms, and waist. It also felt so unnatural at first to be sticking my chest and butt out, like I was looking for attention, which is part of the reason people have such terrible posture. We feel that's immodest. No lie, 3 weeks later, all my back pain symptoms were gone and haven't returned. I can do some slumping when I sit with no great penalty now, but when I walk or when I have to stand for a duration or sit on something backless, I use my good posture and I am pain-free. Trying to spread the word on this makes me feel like a 1950s health movie. Posture Pals. But it's so effective I can't stop sharing. Years of chronic pain are completely eliminated by just a few weeks of good posture training. At age 18, I was suffering from chronic neck and back pain. I had been a hardcore video game addict since age 8, and the terrible posture was doing me in. I spent 9 months going to the gym, strengthening my muscles, and back pain is gone. A good teacher of the Alexander technique can also work wonders. I've taken many classes and my wife recently started. You can probably find a good teacher if there is a good acting or music school in your area, because such classes have been part of the standard curriculum for decades throughout much of the Western world. Alexander technique sure can seem like snake oil, but it is wonderful. Story 10. That liquid IV stuff. It's legit. It will give you a lot of electrolytes, probably way more than an average person ever takes. Is it some sort of super energy drink or something? Nah, but if you're working out or doing some sort of sport or physical activity, it really does help you stay hydrated. I personally think it's better than things like Gatorade. I read a study that said it was the second best in terms of hydration. The first place was milk. I was like, WTF? Milk? And apparently milk is a champ at hydrating the body. This makes sense because it's milk. That's what babies drink to stay alive. But also, I cannot fathom drinking milk when I'm thirsty. That just seems wrong. Anyways, apparently Liquid IV is great at hydrating. I've only ever had it when I'm hungover, and water makes me want to vomit. And it's pretty good. Seems sweet, but I can't imagine there's that much sugar in one packet, where I'd actually be concerned about sugar content. The primary concern is not feeling like death, ASAP, after a night of drinking. Between some medical conditions and stimulant meds for ADHD, I'm basically always on the brink of dehydration, and plain water just goes right through me, it seems like. Liquid IV has been a lifesaver. I wish it was cheaper for tubes, because I usually have at least one per day, especially when I'm working. If you're standing in the sun for hours, this thing is a game changer. Story 11. How effective medical cannabis is on Parkinson's and MS. You watch the videos and the effects are like the patients are paid actors before, but it's real and it works. In some MS and Parkinson's patients, it doesn't work at all. In others, it's almost a miraculous cure. I would say it's potent enough to let any Parkinson's patient try and see if they are part of the It Helps group. I have ME/CFS, which behaves in many ways like diet MS. One of the things it did was kill my sex drive. As As soon as I got the illness, it was like a wall went up in my brain, disconnecting it from the arousal center. Yet early on in the illness, when I smoked pot, it would come back. Not only that, but I swear I could feel my brain remake the connection. Over time, it stopped working though. My theory is that the disease progressed too much for any workarounds. But can you imagine how doctors react when I tell them this? I can tell they don't believe me, which is frustrating because it's a poorly understood disease, and I think my accidental discovery could reveal something about its mechanism. I'm an LTC nurse, and we had admitted a patient with MS. He was formerly homeless, but reported that he smoked a lot of weed on the street. Unfortunately, in most places, patients still can't use weed, even non-smoked forms, in nursing homes. He went from walking to bedbound in a matter of months and passed away 12 months after admission. It was such a rapid decline, and I can't help but wonder if suddenly losing access to cannabis contributed to that decline. It is helpful. Even though it's not a cure, it's at least something. Story 12. Retinol, one of the few ingredients in cosmetics that is actually scientifically proven to work. You do need to get the good stuff. Depending on your country, you might actually have to get a doctor's note to get the high concentration product, but it does improve your skin. Unless you have eczema, in which case it's like throwing gasoline on a bonfire. Do not use this if you have eczema, or you will greatly speed up the keratinization of skin plaques. Oh man, I have never heard of this before. The retinol train is crazy, and everyone and their mother recommends it without any discussion of the side effects of bar skin purging. I stopped using it because it caused me such severe dry eye, I wasn't able to wear contacts for a year and a half. But the eczema thing is actually making me so angry. Why aren't these side effects listed on the packaging? I just hate how everyone requires a radically different skincare routine. Story 13. Does a dog's Thundershirt count? Had an anxious dog with storms and loud noises. Got him one, and while not perfect, he did seem to calm down with it more often than not. For anyone interested, check out the movie Temple Grandin. It's about a famous academic and autistic person. She found that squeezing cattle makes them feel safe, so they have a less stressful experience. Works on other animals, including humans. She's autistic, and her story was made into a movie starring Claire Danes. Less stressful experience on their way to slaughter. Yeah, it's weird, but it's humane to make it so that they suffer as little as possible in the process. My dog has stress-induced seizures, and he's an anxious little guy. If we notice he's starting to have an episode, we put his Thundershirt on, and probably 4 out of 5 times it prevents the seizure. I don't know what it is, but that thing is like magic. The smoke detectors in my house would chirp every so often, not dead batteries, and it was random ones every time. We never did figure out why, and my old dog went nuts every time it happened. It usually did it maybe a few times a month, but one night for some reason it happened like 3 times and she was freaking out. Someone recommended those tight shirts, but since it was like 2 a.m., I couldn't just go get one. I got a small t-shirt and slipped it on her, and she immediately calmed down. Not all the way, but enough to make her sit still. I had no idea these were even a thing. Sounds awesome. Story 14. This is going to sound ridiculous, but infrared light therapy. I have an autoimmune disorder and some old injuries from childhood, so I've struggled with chronic pain and moderate severe fatigue for most of my life. After my first experience in one of those beds, I spent the next week or so with no pain and the energy to actually get stuff done without being even a little tired afterwards. I have no idea how it works. I just know that I don't hurt now, and my inflammation numbers have been cut in half. That doesn't even happen on my immunosuppressant. Infrared and red light therapy is amazing. I took part in a US Air Force study on alternative medicine when I was in the Army. At the time, my left leg was in bad shape. I could barely walk because the nerves wouldn't work and the pain would be so intense that I'd collapse. I went to study, and a man with a ponytail told me to take my shirt off and lay on the table. This guy starts dangling a crystal over parts of my body and tells me my chakras are messed up. This guy pulls out a single red LED and holds it next to my belly button for a minute and tells me to get up and walk down the hall. I cannot explain to you how furious I was that it worked. It didn't work because I wanted it to, and he helped me trick my brain. It worked because it worked. You can make your red light therapy so much more effective by putting green tea on a cotton pad and wiping it on your target area, or for full body, bathing with some green tea bags and then starting your device. I read a published study recently that said people who did this get results that usually took 10 months in one. Something to do with the combo of topical green tea and red light that just does wonders on inflammation. I'm not really sure if I fully trust these, but it sounds promising enough. Story 15. I was suffering from plantar fasciitis for over 6 months. I tried new shoes, new insoles, pills, and physical therapy, but none of those things fixed it. A friend kept suggesting I try these gel toe separator things like they wear when painting toenails. I thought it was silly, but they were only $10 on Amazon, and what do I have to lose? I wore the neon blue gel thing at night, feeling very silly. After the first night, my foot hurt like hell, but after the second, it felt a whole lot better. I wore it for 2 weeks straight, and plantar fasciitis was gone. Those things were like magic. I just saw a podiatrist talk about this. A lot of the foot issues, like bunions, are caused by us wearing shoes that don't have a wide enough toe box. Your toes are the widest part of your foot, but most shoes are too narrow. They recommended spacers or buying shoes with wide toe boxes. The toe spacers are stretching out your tendons in the feet, therefore reducing the tightness that causes plantar fasciitis. Another thing that should help is putting something like a tennis ball underneath your foot and rolling it around. I struggled with plantar fasciitis as well for a couple of years. Finally started wearing rainbow brand flip-flops just because I thought they were cute and my feet were going to hurt anyway. 100% cured my feet. A friend didn't believe me for 2 years and I finally gave her a pair. Worked for her too. Miracle sandals and still cute. I had a friend with this problem too. The insoles never work. Story 16. Epsom salt baths. They rapidly help recovery, and I don't know why I ever believed people saying it's an old wives' tale. During the pandemic, I rode my bike 150 plus miles a week. Each day, I'd do an Epsom soak for 15 minutes and I'd be good to go the next day. Honorable second mention, Wim Hof method. Ice baths suck, but they do your body wonders. I couldn't get used to it and bitched every time, but damn it do they help recovery time. Wim Hof showers have increased my mental sharpness too in the morning and discipline. It's like if I can force myself to stand in freezing cold water, the worst thing, I don't want to do it, but then you convince yourself this isn't that bad, it's just cold water, and breathe through it. I feel like Superman after and go into my day thinking I can do anything. Plus it makes my muscles feel all tingly and nice. Ice baths are brutal, but god, they're good. I just played a Masters National tournament. Thankfully, it was winter, so the hotel pool was super cold. We did pool, spa, pool, spa. I would go from not being able to walk to being able to run with no issues. I've bought an ice bath but haven't actually used it. Need to do this. An ice bath sounds like hell, to be honest. Story 17. Glucosamine supplement is my answer. I know the jury is still out on whether or not it actually helps with joint health, but I swear by it. One of my knees used to fatigue and ache super fast when I went out for a run, but after taking this stuff daily for a couple of months, it's so much better. Still, sometimes I get some aches on runs. It isn't a miracle cure, but it's so much better than it was before. My parents had a Rottweiler with some sort of hip or joint issue when I was growing up. He would whine trying to stand. Our friend told us about these glucosamine drinks, and I swear after starting them, he didn't whine anymore and didn't seem to be in any pain. It was magic for him. The thing about these joint supplements is that the ingredients make sense in the context of the joint. They are components that make up cartilage, etc. But scientists still don't know exactly how these things would be getting there to help. There's still a lot we don't know about our bodies, but studies have been done in animals and people to show that in adult joints, there are not really easy ways to get new materials in, and the ability of the joint to regenerate is quite limited. Yet some people consistently report the benefits of these things. Others have no benefit at all. I'm not going to call something like this snake oil, but you're absolutely right, there's still some sort of disconnect going on that I'm not convinced is simply a placebo effect, just because there aren't enough studies. Story 18. Hot water, baking soda, and aluminum foil to clean tarnished silver. I was amazed when I dropped in a piece and watched the tarnish disappear almost instantly. Jewelry school student here, be careful with the baking soda and the foil as it will really scratch the surface. A quick and easy way to clean tarnish at home is to boil water with vinegar in it, a tiny bit of salt, and drop the silver in. To polish it at home, you can use those 4-way nail file things, the shiny side, or even a piece of suede or felt cloth. Be careful with the abrasives or your lovely silver will get tiny marks which will make the next tarnish. It always happens over time. Even worse, because the oxides build up in the scratches. Popping a bit of beeswax over the silver will slow down the tarnishing also. I did this recently on a tarnished ring and was stupidly amazed that it worked. Science, man. Story 19. I forgot what it was called, but I couldn't believe it actually worked. My grandmother would buy some cheap medicine from some small and frankly cheap-looking stores. One was some sort of paste-like medicine that was purple and smelled kind of funny. When I was young, my brother accidentally slammed a door into my toenail, nearly breaking the whole thing off and splitting it in two. My grandmother then comes back to my family's apartment and puts on the purple medicine on my toe. No joke when I say it healed in 3 to 5 days, I think? Anyway, my toenail is then fully healed, with no pain or problems years after the accident. Too bad she didn't have that stuff on her when I ended up breaking my other toenail. I don't know what it's called, but when I was a kid I lived with my grandparents and worked with their racehorses. Anytime a horse had a cut, scrape, or wound, my grandfather would spray this purple spray onto the wound to heal up within a few days of the application. Not the same thing, but similar in results. My grandma and great-grandma made pine pitch out of pine sap, thick as hell, used popsicle sticks to spread it over wounds, prevented infection, and would even draw out mild infections and splinters into the pitch. Haven't found anything like it. I think it might just be iodine. Story 20. Fun fact, the original snake oil was legit. Oil from Chinese water snakes has for centuries been used in Chinese traditional medicine to treat joint pain such as arthritis and bursitis. It has been suggested that the use of snake oil in the United States may have originated with Chinese railway laborers in the mid-19th century who worked long days of physical toil. Chinese snake oil may have had real benefits due to its high concentration of omega-3 fatty acid, eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA, more than that of salmon. The rattlesnake oil later sold by charlatans did not contain a significant amount of omega-3. White people, especially at medicine shows, would try to recreate these recipes with local snakes who didn't have these properties, hence it didn't work, and snake oil's reputation for being a ripoff. How the tables turn. Story 21. I have serious, lifelong, horrible insomnia. I've tried every non-narcotic and some narcotic sleep aid you can imagine. Melatonin is spotty and only works in the right conditions and makes me so groggy for 24 hours. Benadryl is pretty terrible for you long-term, etc, etc, etc. I tried valerian tea and it tasted like socks and did nothing. Then I learned that valerian takes a high dose to be effective, so I tried it in pills, and it seemed to help, but it gave me a stomachache. Then a friend created a high-dose valerian tincture for me. I swear on everything, a dropper of that under the tongue for 2 minutes has almost the exact benefits of taking a Xanax. You can probably feel it kicking in and you just drift off to sleep. There's a reason they call it nature's Valium. If this works for me, I'll be a happy man. Story 22. Dry needling. The idea that you can stab me in select nerves with a needle and it will suddenly fix everything sounded like the epitome of BS. However, I had a bad shoulder from my football days and it always was sore. I went to a physiotherapist in Canada and they suggested dry needling plus the tumbler, a high-intensity vibrating massager. I was skeptical, but I was losing mobility in my right arm. I didn't really have anything to lose. I was converted after the first session. I recovered almost all my mobility in 2 sessions. The clicking in my shoulder stopped. It didn't hurt to stretch anymore. I don't know who I could endorse this service for, but for me it was a game changer. And anytime I hear someone talking about shoulder pain, I point them towards this combination. I've had dry needling done in my calves. My foot was hurting so much I could barely walk. My PT took one look at me and said, "It's because your calves are too tight and you're pulling on the tendon in your foot. Let me fix that." Dry needling in your calves hurts like an absolute hell, but by God it works. The next day the pain in my foot was 90% gone. I was fully better within 3 days. It was absolutely bananagrams, and that PT is my hero. I slipped a disc in my neck and my upper trap locked up completely. Put a ton of stress on my nerves, so my fingers were numb. I could barely use my arm. Dry needling is like magic. They aren't actually hitting nerves. They are stimulating the muscle to fully contract and relax, and it works. Traditional dry needling is using the acupuncture needle to hurt the muscle and force a contraction. It works quickly, but you'll be sore for a few days, and it sucks while you're being needled. They can also do it like a nerve conduction test. They put the needle in and give the muscle a light electric shock. This forces a more full contraction and isn't unpleasant while it happens. The relief is a little slower, but you don't get sore for 1 to 2 days after. I much prefer this method. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story that you would like to share with us, please please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and don't forget to subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again and see you next time.